Hello and welcome back, Commanders and Commanderettes. Chesty Puller here with another War Commander video. This is on the Skirmish event, and this is for the recruit set. I believe this is for all levels. However, um, my units are not low-level units, but I'm showing you how to do this with units that most people now have. Um, and this is probably going to be the last skirmish event that's going to be air. I'm almost sure of that, but we might have one more after this, but I think this is the third one, so it should be the last one. Now, you've got some people have Richard, some people have Lilith, but most people have Albert Ross. Um, and uh, my suggestion to you is split it up. This is actually not the way I do it, but I'm just showing you what you can do. You can split it up in between three separate heroes just to make things a little bit easier on you. Now, here's the good news. If you take damage on a unit here, just make sure it's not Lilith. You're going to use only Lilith in base number 2. If there's a few seconds worth of damage on Albert Ross, it really doesn't matter. You're not using Albert Ross for base number 2, and just go in order. Um, and while Albert Ross is repairing, because you're not going to take that much damage, maybe if you get 6 minutes damage, it's a 1 minute repair time, right? So it's going to take you more than a minute to do the base number 2. But literally, if you have Lilith, base number 2 is just release Lilith and let her go. You don't have to do anything else. You won't take any damage on Lilith. At least on my Lilith at my level. I don't take any damage. And there's only like 4 or 5 turrets in there that do any damage at all. So I don't think any level Lilith is going to take any damage. There's nothing on the ground. No defenders that are going to hit you. So this first base, if you sort of have to learn how to fly the Albert Ross, you want to attack things that are further away from the things that are going to shoot you. You see how I shot the turret there, and then the two guys way behind were destroyed. So that's how you want to do it. You want to fly and take out something far away from what you're actually trying to shoot, something that doesn't damage your Albert Ross. So this was not a perfect flight for me. You can do this entirely with Albert Ross for free repair. Um, but I didn't take. There was one area there where I flew over the part that I wasn't supposed to fly over. So I'll have about a minute worth of repair there. But it doesn't matter. I'm not even going to look at it. I just leave it in there. It was probably around 5 minutes and some change, 5 minutes and 30 seconds or something like that. So I'll leave it in there. Make sure you go back to your base and you do start the repair on your Albert Ross, because now for base 2, you're literally just going to bring the Lilith in. Now you can speed it up by bringing some other units in. Um, I brought a Warhog in, and I actually lost track of him. I tried to retreat him, but I didn't, and it's on Ruby, so he kind of flew in there. But he only took like a few seconds worth of damage. But on this number 2 base, you really don't have to take any damage whatsoever. Um, the only thing that actually shoots Lilith are the flak guns, the heavy flaks, and I think that there's a hunter in here too. But they don't do any damage to Lilith. And for this set, we're not going to use missiles. We're not going to use mercs. You can use mercs or missiles if you choose, but this way you don't really need to. See, one of the reasons I brought that that Warhog in is because I wanted to draw those units out so I don't have to chase them down, because when you chase them down, it takes you time. And if I because I brought the Warhog in, they went after the Warhog and brought them to me, or brought them to my Lilith, and therefore that sped it up a little bit. Now here, it's not prepared for me yet to come in there with my Warhog, so I was just going to retreat him right here, but I thought I retreated him, but actually I just dropped it down to the next thing, and then I had to come back and find him again. And by then he had already taken a hit, but it was really just like 5 seconds worth of damage. It doesn't matter because I'll repair it right here on the map right after we're done attacking. Better than the Warhog is the Lionhearts. They're better for this particular assistance right here because they don't fly all over the place and fly on top of things that you don't want them to. So if you were to just focus Lilith on the things that would shoot the Lionhearts and then bring the Lionhearts or even the Luminaries in, the Luminaries get a bonus from Lilith anyway, so you could bring Luminaries in to clear the inert buildings and stuff like that. It just makes it a little bit faster. But keep this in mind. We have 4 air platoons, right? And Kixeye knows that, and that's why they're making these events harder and harder. The reason I'm showing you the recruit base is because there are people I think that aren't going to be able to do um, the officer base. Um, I'm going to do a combination of both of them because I'm mostly using the um, just the Albert Ross on the officer base, and then like these number 2 bases here, I can be doing a number 2 base and just let it run by itself on Ruby and go do one of the officer bases, you know, and be actively in the officer base because you can't just roll through the officer bases. You have to use your tactics. You have to. There's no tactics. But just use your skills in those officer bases. You can't just deploy. It's not going to work. So you get 1,000 points for the number 1 base. You get 2,000 points for the number 2 base. When you're not doing another base, you know, you can just deploy Lilith in a number 2 base and just stack up so you could farm the number 2 base pretty easily. Um, all you need is Lilith for that. It does take I don't know 4.5 minutes or something like that to do the number 2 base. Um, 4 minutes maybe. I mean, it doesn't take that long, but you can go do something. You know, you can go downstairs and get a drink while that's clearing. And what else? So yeah, because you're not using missiles and you're not using mercs, you don't really have to worry about going out and getting a lot of thorium and a lot of metal and oil and stuff like this. So, but I do recommend using the shock op, and mine apparently ran out, so it wasn't being used on that, and that might be um, why I took a little bit of damage on the first one because I typically I don't. Um, Now here's the third one. Now this one a little bit more difficult. I mean it's pretty easy, but it's a little bit it's the most difficult out of the 3, And this is why I recommend um, that you spread the damage out between the 4 platoons. And remember, if you take damage, like for me, my Lilith is in my Alpha platoon. My Albert Ross is in my Bravo platoon. You also have your Delta platoon and your Tango platoon. So um, if like, and I have Richard in my Delta platoon. So if I did take damage, even if I took 10 minutes on my Delta platoon, I don't care. I'm not using my Delta platoon for another 10 minutes anyway. I'm only going to be using Alpha and Bravo, Alpha for base 2 and Bravo for base 1, right? So the only thing you really want to do is not take damage on your Lilith. If you take damage on your Albert Ross, it really doesn't matter. You could go do another number 2 base while you're waiting for him, right? Um, so right now, I think I'm stacked up with a whole bunch of number 1 bases completed, and the number 2 bases. Because I wasn't taking any damage, I didn't want to waste my time doing the number 2 bases. So this is another good theory that I use. The 2 harder bases, you do those until you take damage that isn't instant repair, right? Then you go do a number 2 base. Don't do a number 2 base when there is no damage on your base. Save the number 2 base until you have no damage, until you have some damage in your base that you need to repair on your air, right? So save the number 2 base because it's so easy and you can walk away, and that's a farmable base. Save that one until you're doing some repair on your one of your air squadrons, okay? Um, and really, the only thing that you have to do is be careful of your Lilith. Make sure that she's always free repair. And that's why I only use my Alpha platoon um, for Lilith. I don't use anything else out of my Alpha platoon. I do have some Warhogs in there, um, and I could use them in an emergency, but I'm saving the Alpha platoon just for the number 2 base. And once I finish this series of things here, I'm going to head back over and start doing the officer base again. I was just taking a break from the officer base because it's kind of boring and monotonous, and I really don't like Kickside the way they make it a grind. There's a lot of things that you need in this event, and the points are not necessarily easy. There's no boosts for your XP. There's no, uh, you know, um, no way to stack up your points like there is in a holdout. You can stack your points in a holdout up by completing the bases, and then in some of the other events, you can buy the XP boost, and in others that you get the XP boost by repeating the bases in a short amount of time once you complete the bonus base and so forth. But um, there's nothing like that in the skirmish event, which is unfortunate. I don't necessarily think that the skirmish event is a hard event. It's just a grind, if you know what I mean. It's just a grind, and it makes it not that fun. So that's why I like to break it up and do something different. This recruit set, it being as easy as it is a little bit more. fun, maybe, but it doesn't pay out very well. The payout is absolutely terrible on the recruit set. So if you can, check out the videos on the officer set, and I would do a little bit of both. That's the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a little bit of both because we have the whole weekend, and it really just does become monotonous to just repeat the same thing over and over again. But for the officer base, I I'll probably tell you in the video that what you need to do is get really good at one or the other of them and then repeat the pattern. In other words, work on, like, if you're having a problem in the number one base, just repeat it over and over and over again till you get it down to a science, and you're doing it over and over and over again, and stack a bunch of those up, right? And then practice on the number two base. And one of the nice things about the skirmish event is that there's just the one and the two base. There's no third base on the officer set. So that means it takes about around the same time as a recruit level 1 and 2 base to do the officer 1 and 2. So you can do it very quickly. This number 3 base takes about as long as the number 1 and the number 2 itself. So it actually pays you less, and it takes twice as long. And it pays you about half of what the officer set does. So try and do the officer set if you can. That's going to be my recommendation. But this is also, something that you can do in between. And you won't take too much damage doing this. All right, guys, that's it. Hope it was helpful. Have a good one.